Prague. All right, and there we go. Sebastian Thaler on our right, former Rookie of the Year with 2 Pro Tour top 8s, and he's had a very interesting start. Speaking of powerful cards, Frank, turn to Bitter Blossom.
Oh yeah. This is one of the better cards in the format. Of course, it was one of the centerpieces of the Fairies deck, the tribal deck that was powerful like 11 years ago, around that time. But one way or another, it means that you get a free 1/1 flying token every turn. You also lose a life, but that is a fine price to pay for a 2-mana card that is just an army by itself.
Yeah, especially if you can hold down the fort, make sure your opponent is not attacking you turn after turn with bigger guys. And Sebastian Thaler adds another flyer to the board, and a Crow of Dark Tidings. So a 3-mana 2/1 that mills 2 cards when it enters the battlefield or dies. It looks like Sebastian Thaler has a very interesting blue-black setup going on here. Even had a turn 1 Terramorphic Expense to fix his mana. Must be nice.
Yep, yeah, the Crow of Dark Tidings typically fits quite well in blue-black, because this is a color combination that has several delve cards that can get cheaper if you exile cards from your graveyard as you cast them, and that is why milling yourself is quite valuable in blue-black. Also, you might be able to flip over a flashback card. The set is filled with flashback cards, cards that you can cast from the graveyard. So lots of reasons why the Crow works well.
Yeah, so now we get a Snake Umbra, I believe.
Yes.
From Paul on his Olivia's Dragoon. So he's going to try to keep up the pressure. But if your plan is to make one big guy with some Umbras and so on against Bitter Blossom, you're not going to get that far.
True, and Sebastian actually has the option of double blocking. Now the Umbra turned the Dragoon into a 3/3, which necessitated a double block. But it also has an ability, Totem Armor, that says that, if the creature would be destroyed, instead, the Umbra gets destroyed. So that is a way to stave off the card disadvantage issue that many auras would otherwise have.
Yeah. And it looks like Sebastian is just double blocking there, trying to get some time. He has a Rune Snag in his hand. Also, I saw a Canker Abomination, so that's going to be a huge creature on this board if he decides to deploy it right away. I think he also has a Frantic Search and a Olivia's Dragoon of his own, and one more card that I didn't quite was able to see there. So let's see if he goes for the big one, and it looks like it's going to be the Golgari hybrid. He's not from Ravnica. He came from the world of Shadowmoor, or Eventide. One of the 2 sets in this particular blog, and it's a 5/5/4 solid numbers, I have to say.
Yeah, Canker Abomination. It gets worse when the opponent has a board filled with creatures, because it's basically a 6/6 for 4, which is just way above rate, but it gets a -1/-1 counter for every creature the opponent controls as it enters the battlefield. At this point, however, when you're only facing one creature, a 5/5 for 4 mana, that's still way above rate.
It's great. I mean, even as a 4/4 for 4, it's still solid. Yep. And I've played my fair share of 4 mana 3/3s, Frank. I don't know about you, so even as a 3/3 can do a job.
Oh, I remember the classic Hill Giant. If this is a set to celebrate all the best offs from Magic's history, I wouldn't mind building your own Hill Giant.
Yeah, the good old times of Grey Ogres and Hill Giants.
And speaking of good old times, there's the Wild Mongrel.
Ooh.
This was perhaps the best green 2-drop in the game for quite a while. It spawned basically an entire deck, the Blue-Green Madness deck. And it wasn't until, I guess, Tarmogoyf arrived with Future Sight that the role of the most well-known green 2-drop got taken over from the good old Mongrel.
Yeah, it was a great card with all the madness effects in that particular block. And speaking of madness effects, if there's one card that can really enable madness nicely, it is Frantic Search.
Oh yeah.
So Sebastian Thaler will get to draw 2 cards, then he's going to untap 3 lands. Oh yeah, discard 2 cards, untap 3 lands, and maybe madness something out.
Yeah, importantly, you can use the mana from the untapped lands to pay the cost for madness cards. And I do think he has one.
Yep, he actually has Twins of More Estate in his hand, so he's going to deploy that 3/5 for the madness cost, which is just 3 mana. At 5 mana, 3/5, that's only something that Shuhei Nakamura gets excited about. He's a lover of Thraben Purebloods. and Siege Mastodons and Twins of Moor Estate, but playing it for 3 mana, that I think that's something that a lot of players would like.
Yeah, it also mitigates like the card disadvantage from Frantic Search that you would have otherwise. Now Sebastian used the Frantic Search in his main phase, right, because he was just digging for relevant action. But he also had the option, if he had cast Frantic Search during Paul's turn, to Frantic Search, discard the Twins, and even though it's a creature, if you discard it with Madness, you can cast it at instant speed. So that's actually something that we may have to be on the lookout for throughout this tournament. People attacking into an opponent with 3 open mana, because even if they have nothing else, they might just play Frantic Search and deploy a Twins of Moor. Polish is deploying a bunch of 2/2s to the battlefield at like a decent rate, but it is not as powerful as the card Bitter Blossom by itself, which is just one of the best cards, I guess, of all time even. And getting the discard spells together with Madness.
Turn away from Game of Finishing. the Grave Strength in his hand. That could
Okay.
potentially be very, very good with the Glen Elendra Archmage. All right, guys, I'm getting.
Might have been slightly better on the Glen Elendra Archmage to put the counters on there, but it doesn't really matter at this point. Paul is just in chum blocking mode and still has no long-term way of dealing with the Bitter Blossom.
Yeah, guys, you seem to be excited. You can hear us. You have no idea how happy that makes us, because we want you to hear our commentary, not just the game. So it looks like it's going to work fine. Unfortunately, our software has been crashing whenever we have made it work a little bit here. So you're now joining us in the possibly the last turn. Yeah, and there it is. Sebastian Thaler, two-time Pro Tour top 8 commander, wins game 1.
I mean, honestly, the game was nearly over on turn 2 already, because Bitter Blossom is just such a powerful card. It just wins the game by itself.
Yeah. Right, so we're preparing to prepare game 2. Due to the sound issues, we have to juggle things a little bit here, but don't worry, we'll get to see some a little bit more magic here. As we've at the start, Frank, we've been talking about the powerful effects, right? And like in Magic's past, one of the best plays in Standard and sometimes even Modern was turn 2 Bitter Blossom. I mean, it was banned in Modern, right?
Yes, for quite
years.
a while.
Yeah.
When it came back, it turned out that it wasn't as powerful anymore. It's still seeing like a little bit of play in Modern. Some people still like to play Blue-Black Fairies.
Some people, Yuta Takahashi, he's the fairy master. Like, don't try this at home, but Yuta Takahashi can take fairies and just crush a tournament. I don't recommend it to other people.
No, but especially when we had fairies in Standard, Bitter Blossom was the key card in the deck. And hands with an opening hands with Bitter Blossom were so much better than opening hands without Bitter Blossom that you were even willing to mulligan down to 6 or even down to 5 just in search of the enchantment on turn 2.
Yeah, and I think the most problematic thing about Bitter Blossom was like it was played alongside Thoughtseize quite often. So turn 1 Thoughtseize clear the way for a turn 2 Bitter Blossom, and then like even if you found an answer for it, in a turn or two, there were spell status prize, right? Mistbinder clicks, Vendilion clicks, like everything, like it was disrupting all the way. So, and even if you managed to get through this to destroy the Bitter Blossom, like they probably already created 3 or 4 fairies, and they're already smashing you up. It was quite devastating, and I'm happy we have it in a limited set, and in Modern it can be fine in the hands of Yuta.
For sure. But this game also already showcased some of the key mechanics in this format. Madness was seen while you were discarding the Twins of Mauer estate with Frantic Surge.
Yeah.
It happened in main phase, but could also happen at instant speed to ambush an opposing attacker. Lots of sweet things that we might be seeing today.
All right, we have game 2 queued up of Sebastian Thaler, and there we go. So Paul Janes against Sebastian Thaler here, round 1 of GP Prague, Ultimate Master Steel deck, and we'll see if the Golgari deck from Paul can do some more powerful things compared to game 1. He had a decent start with Olivia's Dragoon. He has that again. Let's see if Sebastian Thaler has that Bitter Blossom for his own turn 2. Nope, just an Olivia's Dragoon of his own, a foil one at that. Yeah. Shiny.
Yeah, well, foil or no, they are gonna trade if both players want to. Now, Olivia's Dragoon is one of the better Madness outlets in the format. Right, you do want to have a card that can discard cards at will, because then you can pay them for a cheaper cost if they have Madness. Also, there's plenty of cards that just want to be in the graveyard for fueling Delve or maybe Flashback or other Graveyard Matters engines.
Okay, looks like Ghoul Caller's Apprentice.
No, I think that's
no?
Apprentice Necromancer.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The 1/1 that can sacrifice to get a creature back from the graveyard just for 1 turn.
Yep, correct.
Giving it haste as well to at least have a reason why it's back for 1 turn.
Yep. So it's 2-mana 1/1 zombie wizard at that. Let's see if Sebastian Thaler can get something going here. I think he found an island. He has the Frantic Surge. Maybe he has the Twins of Moria State of his own. Because I already saw another Olivia's Dragoon in his hand, so it looks like he has quite a few enablers for his Madness cards. Which is always a place where you want to be.
Yeah, finding the right balance is definitely going to be tough in draft tomorrow, especially because we'll be doing Ultimate Masters draft on Sunday. For Seal deck, well, you just have to work with what you have. So many of the decks you'll be seeing are not as laser focused as the average draft deck, but still, if your Seal pool contains several Madness cards and several discard outlets, that is some synergy worth exploring.
Yeah. So it looks like. Speaking of synergy, so Frantic Surge is going to discard 2 creatures, so Stitch Drake and Olivia's Dragoon, but now Thaler is up to 4 cards in his grave. Maybe he can play the Gurmag Angler here for just 3 mana. And and he goes for it. Nice.
Yeah, so for all of you in the audience asking, how much is the fish? It's 3 mana.
I mean,
and that is a pretty good deal for a fish, let alone a zombie fish.
In limited as well. On turn 3, Frank. On 3, it's... You get the best fish in the morning, early, nice and early. You wake up, early bird gets the fish, I guess.
Yeah.
All right.
No, like a 5/5 on turn 3 is a good example of the high power that you have in this format if you build around it.
All right, and there's quite some good follow-ups from Sebastian. I see in his hand again the Glen Elendra Archmage and also the Canker Abomination, a card we've seen already in game 1 doing big work. Drew an Ether Snipe too.
No, looks pretty solid. Well, Paul is just falling behind and not really doing anything. Yeah, he has this Apprentice Necromancer, but without like a relevant creature in the graveyard, it doesn't really do as much.
Yeah, I mean, he has a Grave Scrabbler, he has a Death Denied. I mean, it's fine, but
it's a bit of an overload on effects that bring creatures back from the graveyard, and not enough creatures that he actually wants to return.
Yeah.
So that draw doesn't really get together for Paul. Well, Sebastian, if 1/5/5 is good, how about another one?
Yeah. Dennis, GSV. No, this is not modern. You might have seen a turn 3 Gurmag Alley. No, this is Ultimate Masters Seal deck. Yes, Seal deck. Sebastian Thaler did have some good opening. And Wild Monger from Paul. Finally, a little bit of power on his board. He has the Grave Scrabbler too to madness it out. So he might string together some blocks for the next turn, but he's falling behind firmly.
It's also a discard outlet. If I were in Sebastian's seat here and I would see the Wild Mongrel coming down, I would be really sweating it. Because if Paul has, for example, let's say Emrakul or some other Eldrazi, you can actually discard it to Wild Mongrel, and then with the shuffle trigger on the stack, get it back with the Apprentice Necromancer, attack for a massive Annihilator. I mean, that could easily swing the game right there. But Sebastian probably had a sigh of relief when he saw that the turn was just getting passed. Still, you have to be mindful of the possibilities of Wild Mongrel discarding something big and then Apprentice Necromancer bringing it back to maybe ambush one of the 5/5s, but what are you going to do? Not attack? Nah.
Exactly. So there's the big attack from the Angler and the Canker Abomination from the former Rookie of the Year, Sebastian Thaler. I talked to him at the last GP where we met in Warsaw, and he said like he's going to go to all limited Magic fests in Europe because he just really likes playing limited. He's not much more of a constructed player, but he really enjoys playing limited, and him and his friends just gonna go and travel and have some fun.
Sweet.
Yeah, and I think it's a good approach to have. If you're a former pro who still loves Magic, but too busy with life, going to play some limited GPs is something I can definitely appreciate.
Yeah, and he is actually one of the more experienced players in the entire hall. He has 3 GP Tobates to his name with a win at Grand Prix Athens in 2006.
Nice.
And also 2 Proter Tobates in Berlin and then Yokohama 2008, 2007.
Yeah, I remember Berlin.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I beat him in the semifinals. Yeah, it was very enjoyable, I have to say. I made a dragon that was over 140 power and toughness.
Yeah, that was a crazy format and a crazy deck with like Glimpse of Nature elves comboing off into the stratosphere.
I mean, he made like an 80-80 or something, or 70-70, but it wasn't enough. It just really wasn't. Good old times. And I mean, actually, that's where I first got to meet Sebastian properly, and we've been friends since. He's a really nice chap. And what is Paul doing here? Is he discarding his whole hand? Okay. So he discarded a few cards from his hand to the Wild Mongrel. Okay.
Oh, it's a Penumbra worm. That is not a bad one to get back.
All right.
Wow.
I can dig it.
Okay, so Penumbra worm is 6/6 trample, and when it dies, you create a 6/6 black worm creature token. So that already allows him to, block one of the 5/5s. And what Apprentice Necromancer says, well, you return the creature card for a turn, and then at the beginning of the next end step, you have to sacrifice it. But then this will just create the worm token.
That was a good turn.
That was a blowout.
Yeah, that was. Well, I was wondering what last card in Paul's hand. I couldn't quite see it because it was foil. So it was making a projection that made me unable to see it. But now, that was a combo and a half. I mean, he did lose almost all his whole board because he threw the Wild Monger in the way as well. But now he has a 6/6 worm crashing into the red zone, and Sebastian Thaler is now firmly on the back foot.
Yeah.
If we had an advantage bar, I would be like, whoa!
Oh boy. I mean, I was dreaming about bringing back Eldrazi's on the previous turn, but Penumbra Worm might even be better because the sacrifice trigger just leaves behind a massive 6/6 token as well.
Yeah.
Oof.
If there's one thing that is good for Sebastian, the fact is he has the Ether Snipe in his hand, but he's lacking the 6 mana to play it. He could evoke it, but he would ideally he really wanted to Druid Island, I think, because he wanted to Ether Snipe evoke and then turn to Misted.
Oh, right.
To keep it around.
That is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Right, because Ether Snipe, well, you can, that works because you evoke it. Ether Snipe costs 3 mana, then enters the battlefield very briefly. You get the enters the battlefield trigger, which will allow him to bounce the opposing token, and then,
or he can just turn to miss the token. That also works. Then keep up the Ether Snipe for later. It's fine. Advantage bar goes into the other way again. I mean, Sebastian Thaler had it under control. We just were really excited. After missing out on sound for a few minutes, I just wanted to bring some excitement into the booth. It was still a sweet play from Paul, but I think he has expanded too many resources to do that. And with Sebastian fully in control, there's just not much he can do.
He also had to discard a bunch of cards to his Wild Mongrel to make it big enough to take down one of the 5/5s in combat. And Sebastian still has a hand filled with action.
Dimir Guildmage, I think one of the best commons for Seal Deck Ultimate Masters. I really like it. It's just perpetual way of card advantage, or you drawing cards, opponent discarding cards. Both work great.
Yeah, well, games go long, and this is an excellent mana sink to generate an advantage in the late game. It's also the only Guildmage in the entire format, I believe. But I think
you're right. Yeah,
it is a good one.
Oh yeah, and downshift to common.
And thanks to the hybrid mana cost, it works in many decks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of my favorites. You never wanna play against it unless you're winning already. And it looks like Polyanis just drew a Mage Ring Network. He still has the Grave Scrabbler in his hand, but that really only works best when you madness it out. And
otherwise it's just a 4 mana 2/2 with no ability. That is not going to work. Yeah, I do like not even casting it. Paul is so far behind that he just has to hope that the top of his deck is something good. In this case, another Madness outlet like Wild Mongrel. Because if that is on top, then he might be able to claw back still, even though it's going to be very difficult because that Glen Elendra Archmage can easily finish the game by itself. Yeah,
there's already a swing for 6 from Sebastian Thaler, and I can't shake the feeling that Paul could have played the game a little bit differently. I mean, I think he just threw his Wild Mongrel in the way of a creature, like trading creatures a little bit too aggressively during that big swing for Sebastian Thaler, and with like Death Denied in his hand, he could have maybe found a way to grind the game a little bit differently. But it would be difficult anyway with Glen Elendra Archmage on the battlefield, potentially countering that. But I think like having Grave Scrabbler in his hand, he could have probably blocked a little bit differently here. All right, Red Sea. All right, there's the Grave Scrabbler for madness, because Sebastian Thaler was like, "You're gonna discard a card," and
you played into my trap cards.
Yeah, gotcha, says Paul Yanes, and he menaces out the Grave Scrabbler, and now he's going to bring back possibly the Penumbra Worm.
I guess. You still have to find an answer for the Glenalandra Archmage, which can win the game in 2 swings.
Yep.
But like getting back Olivia's Dragoons as a way to block it for 1 turn, you also have to discard a card to it. That also doesn't really seem like a great plan. If your deck has at least some removal spells in it, maybe getting back to Penumbra Worm is better. But it just depends on what kind of outs you have to Glenalandra Archmage in your deck. You just, at this point, you're super far behind, so you kind of have to imagine, okay, what is the best possible top of my library that I can have?
Yeah.
Like what kind of sequence of top decks might still allow me to stay in this game? Then assume it is going to happen, because if it isn't, you're not going to win anyway. And from that position, decide which card to get back with the Grave Scrabbler.
All right. I just think that Paul should have already known what he wants to bring back with the Grave Scrabbler. It looks like he's going to put a counter on Magic Network. He brought back the Olivia's Dragoon possibly to block the Glenalandra Archmage on the following turn. He needs something good here. Verdant Eidolon.
Not great.
I mean, it's a blocker, but he might want to keep a card in hand to give the Dragoon flying. Not looking great for Paul here. He's really on the back foot here, and we know that Sebastian Thaler also has that Ether Snipe in his hand. So,
yep.
Land or no land, evoke or hardcast. I think this game's going to be over very soon.
Maybe let's see. If you play the Verdant Eidolon, then you can trade for all the ground creatures, but you would fall down to 1 via an attack from the Glenalandra Archmage. That means that you pretty much have to discard a card to the Olivia's Dragoons to block it on the next turn, and then hope to draw something else. Well, it's a plan if everything goes right, but Paul has to know that the likelihood that he gets out of this scenario is small, especially with Ether Snipe coming in. Do you even want to play it pre-combat?
Possibly not.
Because you don't have to clear the way for the Glenalandra Archmage, and you may not be interested in trading off your powerful Dimir Guildmage for just a lowly Grave Scrabbler.
He can bounce the Dragoon and swing with the Flyer, but he can do that anyway because there's no cards in Paul's hand, so he can't give the Dragoon flying. So he can keep that for next turn. This turn he can draw a card, or he can play the Twins of Moor that he also has in his hand. I think that's what he's going to do. Yep. There's the Twins. The scary Twins.
Yeah, you still have a mana up for the Glenalandra Archmage in case Paul has some kind of powerful instant or sorcery. And then if Paul plans to block with the Olivia's Dragoons on the next turn, you can just bounce it and clear the way for the Archmage. So I think Sebastian has this all but locked up.
Yeah, and Paul did draw a Gurmaganga, which is nice and big creature. There's the Ether Snipe. And Sebastian Thaler, the former Rookie of the Year, has firmly won round 1 here at GP Prague. A reminder for everyone here watching, because I know there's been asked quite a bit in the chat, we're playing Ultimate Master Seal deck. So Ultimate Master is a set sold in packs, just like any other set, but it's a set full of reprints, powerful cards, interesting synergies, and if you like this stuff, you should be hanging out with us the whole day today and even tomorrow. There's me, Matej, there's Frank, there's Raf Levy, there's Tim Willoughby. It's all the awesome stuff. But we got more magic for you, so don't go anywhere. I don't know. I want to see turn 3 Emrakul. What about you, Frank? What do you want to see?
Turn 3 is difficult, but
manageable.
It is possible. It's just like turn 2 Devoted Druid, and then turn 3 Pattern of Rebirth. Yeah. I
or
hope
through
to
the
see
breach.
that,
Or through the breach. You get to up to 5 mana through the bridge Emrakul, swing for 15. There's some cool stuff you can be doing in Ultimate Masters. Let me put it this way. And we're hoping, I mean, it's going to be a little bit more difficult maybe in Sealed Deck, but you never know. Like the cards you open can lead you down a very interesting path. Let's just put it that way, because you get to open 6 packs. You get some nice rares, and let's see what some of our other players have opened here. And we have a former Pro Tour top 8 competitor in Thomas Holzinger here on our right, already winning game 1 from Austria, and he's playing against Werner Derpmann from Germany. So we're going to see what each player is up to here. And Terramorphic Expanse on turn 1 is kind of where I want to be in this format.
It is one of the few mana fixers in the entire format, but one that works well with especially Delve cards, already making your Gurmag Anglers and Treasure Cruises 1 cheaper. But well, Werner is having a decent start with a bunch of 1 mana green creatures as well. Noble Hierarch, well known for anyone who has been playing Magic for quite a while. One of the best 1 mana accelerants. And it also works in creature strategies thanks to Exalted.
Yeah, and I love Noble Hierarch. It's such a cool card. And here's Ghoulcaller's Apprentice, 2 mana 2/2 with a small bonus if it's dead. And but that's not great at holding the fort against the Basking Ritual. Always the threat of activating the Ritual for 2 mana and pumping it +2/+2 in the way. Let's see if Werner can deploy some big boys here.
Yeah, I've seen plenty of Basking Ritualas attack back in the days, and the thing that stood out the most to me is that Basking Rituala is rarely blocked, but is also rarely pumped. But it's actually just the threat of the activation that is so powerful, because well, Thomas doesn't really want to block and then just lose his creature to 2 mana activation from Werder, right? You can pay 2 mana to give the Rituala +2/+2. But on the other hand, Werner would also prefer to develop his board rather than just randomly putting mana into the Rituala. So just always the threat of the activation.
Slow start from Thomas. He has another Terramorphic Expand, but he has 2 mana up. So from a blue-black deck, that can mean a lot of things. Bounce spells, counter spells, removal, anything really. And Werner just going to keep swinging with his Walla. That is pumped by the Exalted trigger from the Noble Hierarch.
No.
As they do.
Yeah, that's why the Bloodflow Connoisseur is not attacking. You do want to have the Exalted. Also, the Bloodflow Connoisseur would be a 1/1 attacking into a 2/2, which is not a great idea. High-level Magic strategy here.
Well, that's what we have you here for, Frank. The high-level strategies.
Yeah.
You are a Hall of Famer after all.
2 is larger than 1. Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
No.
Frank, what I would love to see is like, you calling it out whenever there's a card that you have not seen in a standard format, because you've been playing for ages, right?
True.
So there are some cards like maybe Demonic Tutor. You probably missed that one in standard. I don't think standard ever was existed in that way when Demonic Tutor was legal. So there's the Murderer's Redcap. That's a card I love. It's back in my times. I played this in standard. Murderer's Redcap is great.
Yeah, well, that also saw play in standard for sure. Some of the other ones, like the Ghoulcaller's Apprentice, just a 2/2 for 2 with like an ability that you can make a token when it's in the graveyard. And not really good enough to have seen much of constructed play.
It was legal though. You could have played it if you wanted
yes.
to. So, and you probably played it quite a bit in limited, I can imagine.
That is certainly the case.
And yeah, Murderer's Redcap is a card you always wanted to pick up early in that particular draft format. It's just a great creature. 4 mana 2/2, shoots something when it comes to play. Has persist, so he comes back, pings something again. Yeah, just a great card and great art to go along with it.
Yep. Yeah, it's actually one of the better uncommons in this format as well.
So Prey Upon.
But this may not work out so
well. Yeah.
Because...
okay, Werner seemed like he was like okay with it, so he tried to. He basically used a Prey Upon and a Basking Rituala to put a counter on the Murderer's Redcap. Not the best trade in the world.
No, just to explain what happened there, that was a 3/3 Basking Rituala fighting with a 2/2 Murderer's Redcap. So the Rootwalla wins, but the red cap has persist, comes back as a 1-1, and then it shoots damage equal to its power to any target. And Thomas just targeted the Rootwalla, which already had 2 damage marked on it, so it was going to die, if not for the Bloodflow Connoisseur. Talrand, in the meantime, well, that is one powerful rare. You get, well, it's not going to live for very long, I don't imagine. But if it had lived, you get a free token anytime you play an instant or sorcery spell, I believe.
Yep, true, a 2/2 illusion, I believe.
Yeah, blue Drake token.
All right, Drakes fly, illusions usually don't. All right, so and a nice trick from Werner here with evoking the Shriek Mode, then sacrificing with the trigger on the stack to the Bloodflow Connoisseur. It's already up to a 4/4. Yeah, like it's a small thing, but definitely something that you want to keep in mind. And it looks like Thomas taking 4 here, down to 8 here. He still has plenty of blockers, but he's probably trying to get a better board here. Ooh, and Hooting Mandrills as well.
Voila.
3, exiling some cards there.
That was a very good turn for,
for
Werner.
Yeah.
I thought Thomas was doing well in this game with like Talrand threatening to produce multiple tokens on the next turn. Werner just had 1 3/3 creature, and now suddenly, well, Talrand is gone, and Werner has 2 4/4s. That was a very efficient use of 4 mana, I have to say.
Indeed. I mean, Thomas still has a lot of cards in his hand. I think I saw Just to Win. Yeah, there it is on the top of his hand.
That's pretty good against the Bloodflow Connoisseur, because you can bounce it to effectively reset all the +1/+1 counters.
Yeah, and same for the Hooting Mandrills. You can bounce it, and it doesn't look like Werner will be able to replay it. So, and it has trample, so you probably just you have to decide if you want to get rid of the trampling creature, or maybe the creature that's just going to get smaller if it comes down again. So I mean, I think Thomas looks to be in decent shape. He even milled a Chainer's Edict.
Ooh, value.
Yeah, with his Sultai Skullkeeper. So
the flashback cost is 7, but once he hit the 7th land, he can cast it from the graveyard to force Werner to sacrifice a creature.
Yeah, big decision here from Thomas, who's already down to 8 here. So I believe the Hooting Mandrills might be a bigger threat here, but he has plenty of creatures here, so he might just start off with the double block and then see where it takes him.
Well, maybe you can, I don't know, do some double block on the Bloodflow Connoisseur in the hope that Werner will pump it and then really get him with the Just the Wind.
Right, so bouncing the Mandrills first, and then it was an actually nice play because Werner didn't want to sacrifice his Mandrills to the Bloodflow Connoisseur, let the bounce resolve, now has another Connoisseur to go along with it. He can't replay the Mandrills, doesn't have another land to delve it out.
I would have liked to see the block first and the Just to Win second, because there might have been a chance that Werner would have said, well, you're trying to block my 4/4 with two power creatures, I'm just going to sacrifice the Mandrills to keep it around.
Sure.
But that would have been a very dangerous proposition, given that Just to Win is in the format.
All right. Ooh. Thomas Holtzinger swing with his Murderer's Red Cap.
First blood.
No fear.
Down to 19. Yeah, got him.
Look, he has a Mana Vault in his hand. It's just like, it's one of those cards where, like, if you play it on turn 1, you can do some busted things.
Oh yes. Yeah, Mana Vault is one of those cards in this format.
Ooh,
that is
ancient. Urborg. Urborg into Mana Vault.
Yep.
Hey, rares everywhere. Nice.
A Mana Vault, it's one of those cards that's not actually modern legal, even though most of the contents of Ultimate Masters are all legal in modern. Not the case for Mana Vault, and that's probably a good thing, because if you can just imagine this card in, say, Affinity, right? A 1-mana artifact that taps for 3 mana, then you sacrifice it to an Arcbound Ravager.
No, stop, please stop. It sounds way too brutal for me.
But this is one of the more powerful mana accelerants that has ever been printed in Magic, really. Because you play it on turn 1, and then on turn 2 you can just play a 5-drop. That's just such an incredible amount of ramp.
Yeah, and like building up his mana was also quite nice here for Thomas here, because remember we talked about that Chainer's Edict that was milled earlier, and now with the Mana Vault he definitely has enough mana to flashback if he wants to, but Werner isn't really doing much here. Just the Bloodflow Connoisseur in the past, and Thomas Holtzen can keep swinging, and now he's gonna flashback. What was it? Oh, he's gonna play. One of the Unhallowed? No, he okay.
No, it was the
Ghoul
Caller's apprentice that you can exile to make a 2/2 zombie.
Yep. And a Twins of Mora State Hardcast using the Manifold to nice advantage, building his board up. And Manifold is going to ping Thomas Holzinger for 1 if he doesn't untap it in his upkeep.
Yep.
There's a good blocker.
But you can untap it for 4 mana.
Yeah.
So
that's fine.
he shouldn't be taking much damage from that this game.
Yeah. There's a Kitchen Finks from Werner here, trying to hold down the fort, but not going to be able to do much here. There's an untap of the Manifold for 4 and a draw. And I think Thomas even drawing the land here. He should be fine because his board looks great.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you can just attack with Stitch Drake and the Twins of Mauer Estate, against which Werner doesn't really have any good blocks, and you still have a bunch of blockers left yourself in case Werner decides to attack you. So yes, Thomas is in very good shape. Does he still have the Chainer's Edict in his
I
graveyard?
think so.
No?
I don't think he has played it, so he's really well set up for any of the following turns. And there's a block on the Twins. Block on the zombie. I think Werner's going to sacrifice the Kitchen Finks to put a counter on the Connoisseur, gain some life again. The Finks persists. There we go. And then he just sacks the Finks again, and to make the Connoisseur 3. Nice.
It's a good use of resources. It leaves you with a 3/3 creature. You prevented a bunch of damage, bought yourself some time. I like those combat decisions from Werner here.
And he'll be able to play the Hooting Mandrills if he wants to. I think he also has a Death Denied, so he could possibly bring back some of his creatures has in his graveyard. Let's see what he does for 5. Ghoul's Teeth. Okay, so 5 mana 4/4. It can come back. Decent block against Twins.
Yeah. And Werner's now up to 15 life, so he has a bit of a buffer against the Stitch Drake. Still represents a 5-turn clock by itself, but.
All right, so 7 mana. There's the Chainer's Edict, so he's going to have to sacrifice Connoisseur or a Ghoul Steed. Sacrifice the
really?
Ghoul Steed.
I would have imagined that he would have sacrificed the Connoisseur, because then you have the Ghoul Steed to be able to block the Twins of Mauer Estate.
I thought the same, Frank. I mean, but we're here for Ultimate Masters gameplay.
Sure.
And it's still round 1. And, he could have a very valid reason to sacrifice the Ghoul Steed. Maybe he wants to bring back the Ghoul Steed by discarding some cards. Mm-hmm. Okay, Eternal Witness. I mean, in green-black, you have some recursion going. Unfortunately for Werner, he doesn't have a 6 land to replay the Kitchen Finks, but his cards seem okay in general. Not that powerful, but okay.
It still doesn't have an answer to the flyer. That Stitch Drake is now the most important creature on the entire battlefield.
Ooh, here's my boy, Dimir Guildmage. I've already picked it up.
Don't make him discard.
Don't make him discard.
Watch out for the Grave Scrabblers.
Yeah, Thomas is smart. He draws a card. He also has the Manifold. Like, he can keep drawing if he wants to.
Oh yeah.
But he should be fine in this spot. Just keep attacking with the Stitch Drake. That's a 3-turn clock. Keep milking the Dimir Guildmage for a card advantage. There's the card draw again using the Manifold.
I like it.
Yeah, I really love it. And it's Dimir Guildmage, the fact that it's a 2-mana 2/2 and it can do something early, but also you can use him really well late game. Plus, in black, you have some recursion effects as well. We already saw the Death Denied, something like the Grave Scrabbler. Like, all these things mean that you can really take advantage of the effect of the Dimir Guildmage.
Setter Wayfinder is one of the better enabler cards in the format. For any strategy that relies on the graveyard, well, this is one of the best ways to fill it. You can imagine turn 2 Setter Wayfinder into turn 3 Gurmag Angler or Hooting Mandrill, some powerful delve cards. Here, I mean, it's fine, but it doesn't quite answer the Stitch Drake or the Dimir Guildmage, and well, Werner is not able to mount reasonable attacks. And every turn that he passes without an answer to those creatures, he's just falling further and further behind. Yeah.
So Thomas untaps the Manifold. Just to not take a point of damage. Draws another Dimir Guildmage. Right.
Okay, the second copy is, well, not going to say useless, but
not great.
Yeah. Not as good as the first, at least. It buys you some insurance against one removal spell.
Yeah. There was when Guilds of Ravnica came out and the full set was spoiled. I messaged on Twitter. I put out a tweet to Andrew Brown, one of the play design members, telling him, Dude, the guild mages in the new set, they look pretty weak. But now that I see the Dimir guild mage in this set, it's like, I'm glad they didn't make them as good as they were, because that would have been bonkers. Like the fact that you can use all your mana in late game, and they only reprinted Dimir guild mage, as you said previously. But like I remember a V2 Ghazi guild mage like running riot, and even in constructed.
Oh yes, I mean I still have some nightmares losing to that card in important events. But the guild mages you see nowadays, you just have these tap abilities. So that it's not completely over the top in the late game when you have 10 lands. But well, here you see how powerful they can be.
So, sleight of hand for Thomas. Maybe he can dig himself into another flyer to finish this game off even faster, potentially.
Let's see, could he even set up lethal? No, not
yet.
Not yet. He doesn't have enough attackers, and there's also the possibility that Werner just discards, or sacrifices Kitchen Finks to the Blood for Connoisseur to get another live game trigger. Yeah,
Werner just getting to discard here, double activation, and with no mana to even signal any madnessing, Thomas just gets all the last two cards from Werner's hand. Remember, there's an Urborg, two Moviag in play, so he could use an island and a mana vault to have him discard. He's not cheating. He's just using his lands to their full effect. Urborg, to Moviag, the dearth of viewers for many years.
Yeah, I think we had talked for a while about we need some kind of Urborg indicator on the stream just to signify that all lands are swamps and can be tapped for black. Like in this format, you can combine Urborg with Dark Depths, so you can tap the Dark Depths for black mana, and then add Thespian Stage for a very early 2020 token. Yeah, this deck, this format is filled with some of the most notable cards from Magic's history.
Did you?
I do love seeing those.
Yeah, Frank, did you look up my deck list from Pro Tour Austin 2009? That's exactly what I was playing.
Okay. I think I played it there as well. Even.
How did you do?
Not very well.
I did very well.
Okay.
I did very well. I finished in 17th, I think, or 18th. And my friend with the same deck list lost playing for top 8. It was a great deck list because you can go turn. All right. Right. So So I played turn 1 Urborg, Thoughtseize, turn 2 Dark Depths, Vampire Hexmage, GG. That was a great tournament. I really enjoyed the set of plays.
Yeah, that is one of the more powerful combos that have been around in Magic. Yep. And yeah, it brings me a bit of nostalgia to see these cards once again. Yep. So meanwhile, Stitch Drake is just still getting at it, and Werner still hasn't found an answer to the flyer, nor to the Dimir Guild Mages that are providing a bunch of card advantage every turn.
I mean, Werner is trying his best to stave it off, but
he just doesn't have the tools. He never really drew anything that could interact profitably against all this.
Yeah, let me just put it this way. No matter the limited format, flyers are still good.
Yes.
Always have been.
And mana sinks in the late game, like for the Dimir Guild Mages just as well.
So there you have it, the two more experienced players in Sebastian Tal and Thomas Hodgson. You have won their round 1. They came in with no buys. They're not playing as much, so they didn't manage to play enough to get enough Planeswalker points to get those buys here at GP Prague. But Ultimate Masters, we already got a nice glimpse into some of the cool stuff you can be doing in this format. And I really like what I saw. Bitter Blossom, Mana Vault, Noble Hierarch. These cards are just great to watch in Limited.
Yeah, and it just brings back so many memories for people who have been playing Magic for a long time. And indeed, about 2,500 players showed up here for the main event. So Ultimate Masters is bringing in a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, reliving their memories, right? Yeah. Going back to, playing these cards that they played in different limited formats over the years.
Like I know this card. I played it like 20 years ago in this event.
Yeah, it was really good back then. All right, so that's it for round 1 from me and Frank, but we have a full weekend ahead of us. Don't go anywhere.